Hello everyone and welcome to MedVize TV, where pharmacists like myself give you the information you need to better manage your health and medications. Today's topic, we're gonna talk about high blood pressure. High blood pressure can be a huge problem because you can't feel high blood pressure. Unless your pressure is at extremely high levels, you actually are not gonna feel it when you have high blood pressure, that it can actually be detrimental and dangerous to your health. It's not like having a broken leg or having the flu where you can actually feel these symptoms. You will not feel unhealthy levels of high blood pressure. A lot of times people forget to take their medications or they don't think it's important because they're not feeling any different. This all leads to high blood pressure being undiagnosed or not managed properly. So we're going to talk a little bit about what happens if you don't treat or you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, and also ways to prevent it. But first, what is high blood pressure anyway? When we're talking about high blood pressure, we're talking about the force that the blood is moving through your veins. And so like picture like a garden hose that has water going through it. If that hose diameter, if it's smaller, a lot of times that pressure is going to increase, versus if it's wider, the water might not, when it's flowing through, it's not going to be with as much as force or as much as pressure going through that. I really wish I had a hose. I was going to demonstrate everything for you, but my significant other, of whom I love very much, would absolutely kill me with the mess I would make. So that didn't happen. In essence, the smaller or more constricted that your blood vessels might be is the higher your blood pressure will be. So why is it important to make sure that your blood pressure remains either normal or below? Well, untreated high blood pressure can actually lead to things like heart attack, stroke, organ failure, just to name a few. So it can be extremely dangerous to your health if you continue to leave high blood pressure untreated. So it isn't something to ignore or take lightly. How can you prevent high blood pressure? 2 words: diet and exercise. I repeat, diet and exercise. So let's talk about some specifics. If you want to take seriously preventing high blood pressure or lowering the current high blood pressure that you have now, you have to start reducing the salt that you consume in your everyday diet. So specifically, you want to make sure you're having less than 1.5 to 2 grams of salt per day. It's a little hard to do that if you're eating out. You're not really sure, how much salt is in a specific meal you're having. But if you're cooking a lot of meals at home or when you're grocery shopping, there's actually a label on the back of most foods that you buy that will tell you what the sodium content is of that particular item. You also want to decrease the amount of fat that you're taking in, especially the saturated fat, but you want to make sure you increase the amount of fruits, veggies, and grains that you're intaking in your diet. Next, make sure to limit alcohol consumption. So for men, it's not recommended that you have more than 2 drinks per day, and for women, only 1 drink per day. Another tip is to stop smoking. If you quit smoking, you're actually going to immediately feel the benefits of having high blood pressure if you do now. And if you don't currently have high blood pressure and you're currently smoking, this might be a risk factor for you to, in the future, develop high blood pressure. So please figure out a plan to quit smoking. And don't just do it cold turkey. There's actually a lot of studies that show that people are very unsuccessful by trying to quit smoking by just quitting cold turkey. Have a plan in place. So if you're interested in a plan, I'm going to include a video in the description below that details exactly the best ways that I believe will help you quit smoking the right way. And lastly, be sure to decrease your amount of caffeine intake. I know that sounds terrible, but caffeine can actually increase your blood pressure. So if you're looking to lower it right now, or you're looking to prevent having high blood pressure in the future, you might have to start limiting the amount of caffeine you have per day. So let's talk about the specific numbers of your blood pressure and what you're looking for if you do decide to monitor it. What does the normal blood pressure numbers look like? So you have a top number and a bottom number that each mean different things, but for the purposes of this video, we're just going to talk about what those normal values are. If you want more information as to exactly what they mean, feel free to email me. So normal blood pressure is 120/80. If it's lower than that, great, that's ideal. Now, you can't be too low. If it's like 50/20, you're in a really bad situation. If you have that top number between 120 and 129, you're considered to have elevated blood pressure. Now, if the top number is above 129 or the bottom number is above 80, you're actually considered to have high blood pressure, according to the American Heart Association's 2017 guidelines. So if your blood pressure is ranging between if that top number is between 120 and 129, you definitely want to start looking into some lifestyle modifications to try to prevent you from being considered having high blood pressure. And definitely, if your blood pressure is higher than 129/80 you definitely want to make sure that you're making the necessary changes in your lifestyle to make sure you get that towards that normal 120/80. That can be with medications or it can be with lifestyle changes. Just make sure you have a plan with your prescriber or your pharmacist on exactly how to do that. So what's the best ways to find out what your blood pressure is in the first place? Well, you can definitely start by having a checkup with your primary healthcare provider, or you can buy your own monitor to use at home. They do have public monitors that you can use at some pharmacies. However, I really don't recommend using those because a lot of times you don't know who's put their arm in there. If they have a certain type of skin infection that can be contagious, you don't know when's the last time it was cleaned. So I really would advise not to use those public blood pressure machines that they have in pharmacies, and either go to your doctor's office and have it checked there, or consider buying your own blood pressure monitor that you can use at home. Now, if you're gonna buy your own blood pressure monitor, please avoid using the ones that measure blood pressure from the wrist, as these are usually not as accurate as the ones that measure your blood pressure from above the elbow. There are a bunch of different types of blood pressure monitors that you can buy for home use. I'm gonna include a link to 2 that I believe are the best options for you below. I'm gonna have a budget option there, and I'm gonna have one that's a little bit pricier. However, I think it's really good for the different types of arm sizes and the features that it comes with. So that's all I have for today. If you have any other questions about how to better manage your high blood pressure, or if you want to talk about a plan on how to try to prevent it or lower it without having to be on any medications, please feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at richard@medvize.com. That's richard@medvize.com. As always, please do not start or change the way you use a medication without first talking with your pharmacist or your healthcare provider. Thanks for watching. Take care. Hungry. I'm hungry.